Achievement and pleasure are indeed two different things, and from the perspective of brain mechanisms, they operate in distinct ways. 1. Pleasure and its relationship with dopamine. Pleasure, such as enjoying food, entertainment, playing games, or using drugs, usually triggers a large release of dopamine in the brain. This produces strong, immediate gratification, making us feel happy and satisfied, and encourages us to repeat these behaviors because the brain interprets them as beneficial. These behaviors are prone to addiction precisely because they provide intense, instant rewards, prompting the brain to continually seek more stimulation. 2. Achievement and sustained motivation. Achievement is different. It usually comes from recognition of one's abilities or goal attainment after sustained effort and challenges. It is more related to self-efficacy, self-respect, and self-realization, rather than the immediate, intense dopamine response associated with pleasure. Achievement usually arises from gradually reaching goals, such as breaking personal limits in exercise or progressively mastering new skills in learning. While it provides satisfaction, it comes slowly and does not immediately release large amounts of dopamine. It is more of an intrinsic reward, which is why it is relatively long-lasting and less likely to cause addictive behaviors. 3. Why achievement is harder to sustain, as you mentioned, from a brain mechanism perspective, because achievement lacks strong, immediate pleasure, its persistence and appeal are lower. Pursuing achievement often requires more patience and perseverance, which is challenging for the brain, since it naturally prefers quick rewards, dopamine stimulation. In such situations, many people feel that activities like learning or exercising provide rewards too slowly to feel immediately satisfying, leading to boredom or abandonment. Especially when the environment provides many instant pleasures, these activities appear relatively less attractive. 4. How to sustain intrinsic motivation. However, this does not mean achievement is completely unattractive. In fact, when people make progress and can see themselves improving, this self-realization reward becomes very powerful and strongly supports intrinsic motivation. This is similar to athletes or scholars enjoying the gradual satisfaction of improvement while pursuing excellence. Research also shows that when these activities are linked to personal values and meaning, they become even more compelling. For example, if you believe exercise or learning has a deep impact on your life or aligns with your values, you are more likely to persist even if the rewards are not immediate. 5. How the brain adapts to long-term goals. Over time, if you establish sustainable habits aligned with intrinsic goals, the brain begins associating these behaviors with long-term satisfaction or achievement. Even without intense pleasure, the brain recognizes these behaviors as worthwhile and encourages continued engagement. Summary: from a neuroscience perspective, pleasure and achievement are very different. Pleasure comes quickly and strongly but fades easily, while achievement comes slowly but provides deeper, longer-lasting satisfaction. This is why we easily become addicted to behaviors with immediate rewards but find it difficult to maintain activities that require sustained effort and time. Why does the brain favor short-term rewards over long-term achievement? This is largely related to survival needs, evolutionary history, and the brain's optimization of resources. 1. Evolutionary reasons. The human brain is a product of evolution, and our patterns of behavior and reactions develop to adapt to survival environments. The brain's primary goal is to help us survive and reproduce. Therefore, it is designed to respond more strongly to immediate, direct rewards, which encourages quick reactions to environmental challenges. Short-term rewards versus long-term rewards. In the time of our ancient ancestors, survival pressures were extreme. Environmental factors, such as scarce food and predators, require humans to make quick decisions. For example, eating food triggers an immediate dopamine response that feels pleasurable. This reward response helps you remember that this behavior is beneficial and worth repeating. Such short-term rewards reinforce engagement in necessary survival behaviors and promote repeated execution. Long-term goals, such as exercise or learning, do not directly impact survival in the short term like food does. These long-term goals usually do not provide the brain with strong, immediate satisfaction, so they require more intrinsic motivation and perseverance to sustain. 2. Brain energy-saving design. The brain has also learned to conserve energy through evolution. It tends to favor behaviors that have proven to quickly and effectively achieve results. This design is based on survival needs, because in uncertain environments, rapid response and quick resource acquisition are critical. For example, engaging in behaviors that provide immediate pleasure, such as eating high-calorie foods or watching videos, triggers rapid rewards from the brain. This not only reinforces the behavior but also encourages repeated pursuit of the reward. In contrast, behaviors with long-term rewards, like regular exercise or studying, require sustained effort over time, and their rewards are intermittent. To the brain, these are an investment of resources. While beneficial for long-term survival and reproduction, the brain does not provide strong immediate rewards in the same way it does for instant gratification. 3. Emotional and social needs. Humans are social animals, and emotional and social rewards are an important part of brain design. For example, forming connections with others or receiving social recognition or love triggers short-term pleasure and dopamine release. These responses strengthen social behavior, facilitating cooperation and survival within a group. In contrast, achievement is typically an internal, self-evaluative result that takes time to develop. Compared with social interaction, such abstract and patience-requiring rewards are not the brain's first choice, as they do not immediately affect survival or reproduction. 4. Human reward system instincts. Our brain has a reward system that causes strong responses to behaviors that provide immediate benefits. This system evolved from the instinct to seek rewards, pushing us to find and complete actions necessary for survival, such as finding food, avoiding danger, or forming social bonds. Behaviors like learning or exercise, while beneficial for long-term survival, do not provide strong immediate rewards. Therefore, they often require more willpower to maintain, and for some people, such activities may seem less appealing. 5. Brain flexibility and adaptability. However, this does not mean the brain can only rely on short-term rewards. As humans evolved, the brain became highly adaptable. By changing our mindset, setting long-term goals, or leveraging social and cultural support, we can gradually alter how the brain responds to behaviors. For beneficial behaviors like learning or exercising, once people begin to see long-term rewards and understand their value, these activities can become long-term habits, and the brain gradually associates them with achievement or intrinsic satisfaction. 6. How to adjust this design for better results. Despite being evolutionarily biased toward short-term rewards, we can adjust this design in modern life. Immediate feedback. Design exercise or learning to provide more instant rewards. For example, the physical pleasure after exercise or small accomplishments after learning can deliver short-term satisfaction and motivate continued behavior. Establish long-term motivation. Through self-motivation, setting small goals, and providing rewards, gradually cultivate interest and engagement in long-term objectives, helping the brain recognize the value of these behaviors. Human brains are designed to maximize survival chances and respond strongly to short-term rewards, which promotes rapid action, resource acquisition, and danger response. Pursuing long-term goals requires intrinsic motivation and self-control. However, in modern life, we can learn to cleverly adjust our behavior patterns so that long-term rewarding behaviors, such as exercise or learning, can also stimulate positive brain responses.
The brain itself does not directly know the rewards of long-term behaviors. It gradually links certain behaviors to long-term rewards through a learning process. This process is accomplished via the adaptability and adjustment of the brain's reward system. Although the brain's reward system evolved to respond primarily to immediate rewards, it is also highly flexible and capable of learning to change its response to certain behaviors. When we engage in long-term behaviors and begin to see the results, the brain gradually associates these actions with long-term satisfaction, even though this process is not as immediate or direct as short-term rewards. 1. Learning mechanisms of the reward system. The brain's reward system, including the dopamine system, does not respond solely to short-term pleasure. It can also learn to anticipate long-term rewards. This learning occurs through experience and repeated outcomes of behavior. For example, when we engage in activities such as exercise or learning, we may initially feel frustrated or disappointed due to the lack of immediate rewards. Over time, however, we notice cumulative benefits. Exercise improves health, learning increases knowledge, which gradually become apparent. These accumulated rewards help the brain build the connection that these behaviors are worth continuing. This process is called delayed reward learning, which is one way the brain adapts to long-term goals. 2. Delayed rewards and neural adaptation. When we consistently perform a behavior over time, the brain's neural circuits adjust according to the persistence of the behavior and the eventual rewards. For instance, early stages of exercise may provide few noticeable benefits, but as time goes on, the brain becomes accustomed to these rewards and links them with self-efficacy, health improvements, or other long-term gains. At first, the brain's response may be indifferent. But as behavior accumulates, These positive outcomes, health, knowledge, skills, teach the brain to recognize the value of these actions, which is why many people struggle to stay motivated in the early stages of exercise or learning, but gradually, as benefits become visible, behavior and attitude shift. 3. Habit formation and reinforcement learning. Adaptation to long-term behavior relies heavily on reinforcement learning. The brain learns that certain behaviors are beneficial in specific contexts, and these behaviors can become habits, recurring in daily life. This process requires repetition, and rewards may not be immediate. Over time, however, these behaviors form a positive cycle that the brain expects and values. For example, exercising or studying daily may initially bring little immediate satisfaction. Over time, physical strength improves, knowledge accumulates, and the brain starts to treat these behaviors as effective and worthwhile, reinforcing the motivation to continue. 4. Role of anticipated rewards. Even when long-term rewards are not immediate or dramatic, the brain uses anticipated rewards to motivate behavior. For example, when starting a new exercise routine, you might not feel instant pleasure, but you anticipate future benefits, improved health, reaching a fitness goal, or gaining strength. This expectation of delayed rewards is part of the brain's learning process. Through experience and repeated outcomes, the brain learns that these behaviors, though not instantly pleasurable, provide deeper satisfaction over time, encouraging us to persist. 5. Self-awareness and intrinsic motivation. After experiencing multiple positive outcomes, these behaviors become recognized by our self-perception system. When we notice our progress in exercise or learning, this recognition itself becomes a form of reward, reinforcing the value of the behavior. At this stage, the behavior becomes driven more by intrinsic motivation, not for external rewards, but because we understand the meaning and value of the activity.
The brain learns the rewards of long-term behavior not because it innately understands long-term benefits, but through experience. Through reinforcement learning and reward anticipation, the brain gradually forms a cognitive understanding of long-term rewards. Though these rewards are not as immediately intense as short-term pleasure, over time, they yield stable achievement and intrinsic satisfaction. Gamifying learning to enhance motivation. You are correct. If learning could be made as engaging and immediately rewarding as playing a game, it could become addictive in a positive way, greatly increasing effectiveness and the likelihood of success. Modern educational and self-improvement theories already suggest gamification techniques to make learning more engaging and motivating. 1. Gamifying learning. Games are addictive because they combine challenge, feedback, achievement, and gradual progression, elements that the brain enjoys, as they provide continuous pleasure and dopamine stimulation. Incorporating these elements into learning can make it more enjoyable and sustainable. Small challenges and immediate feedback. Set short-term goals with quick feedback, similar to game leveling mechanisms. Points and achievement systems. Track progress with points or unlock new skills and content as rewards, encouraging engagement and gradual adaptation to reward patterns. Long-term goals with small rewards, like main quests and side quests in games, set large learning goals alongside small, achievable targets with rewards to maintain motivation. 2. Intrinsic motivation and gamification. Gamification fosters intrinsic motivation, which is the drive to engage in an activity for its own sake rather than external rewards. For example, people enjoy video games not for external prizes but for the process, challenges, mastery, and enjoyment. Similarly, if learning can be made challenging, rewarding, and fun, it can cultivate intrinsic motivation. Even without immediate external rewards, learners will continue because the process itself is satisfying. 3. Gamifying skill acquisition. For language learning, programming, math, or other skills, create small challenges and tasks. As learners complete them, they see progress and earn rewards for achieving milestones. This makes learning attractive, and learners feel accomplishment even if initial results are slow. 4. Deep work and gamification-focused work strategies, like deep work, can integrate gamification by using time challenges, progress tracking, feedback, and rewards, making learning sessions more engaging. Example: study intensely for 45 minutes, then take a short break, recording progress to simulate a game-level effect. 5. Successful examples of gamified learning. Many online learning platforms already apply gamification to increase motivation. Duolingo, language learning with points, streaks, and achievements. Khan Academy, tasks with rewards and feedback. Codecademy, programming exercises with progress tracking and badges. These platforms use point systems and milestone rewards to make learning fun, engaging, and persistent. Summary: if learning can be designed like a video game, with challenges, immediate feedback, and a sense of achievement, it becomes more engaging, maintains motivation, and supports sustained progress. Such gamified learning not only improves efficiency but also allows learners to experience enjoyment and accomplishment, fostering long-term growth and self-improvement.